Hello, how's everyone doing today? It's good to see you on here tonight, or if you're watching later after we post this on our Wymore Church YouTube channel. And it's good to have you joining in with us. I appreciate getting to see some of your responses and things, and just to see how you're doing. It was a beautiful day today, wasn't it? Just gorgeous out. I don't know how hot it got eventually, but I just checked the weather right before getting on here. It's 72 degrees here in Wymore right now, which is just super, super nice. It actually feels like spring. When I left the house a little after 7, Rebecca was outside raking. I said, "Sorry, honey, I have to go to work." Hello, Jonna. Hello, Dina. Good to see you. Yeah, Jonna, you're getting good at remembering. You're there. Hi, Justin. Good to see you again. And hello, Martha. Good to see you. I feel a little bit like Romper Room at the end. Do you remember that when you were little? My older brother, Doug, he always wanted the lady on Romper Room at the very end to see him, and she called his name one day, and he was super, super excited because the lady on Romper Room had called out his name, that she had seen him, and how exciting that is. And so I feel a little bit like that when I'm saying hello to everyone. Hello, Jess and Mike and whoever else, and hello, Mark, as you're getting on tonight. We're just talking about what a beautiful day it was today. The sun is shining. The birds are singing, at least this afternoon. This morning we were still having smoke, weren't we, from the Flint Hills? Usually they're burning that off in the spring and causes some problems. And hi, Dina. And usually that smoke ends up in Nebraska. So thank you, the people in the Flint Hills. Glad you're taking care of business down there for your land and all that kind of stuff. But it ends up here. But fortunately, Deanne said apparently a cold front went through, a warm front went through, and that was supposed to push that smoke out of here. And I'm glad it did, because this afternoon I got to go on a bike ride with my friend Justin, and he rode down from Beatrice. Justin Shaley did, and we met up at my house. And after a very, very brief stop to adjust his sunglasses, we headed out on the Wymore Blacktop to 112 and climbed Crider Hill on our bikes. And that was kind of an experience. I wanted to get some lower gears, and she didn't want to shift into some of those lower gears, so we just kind of ground it out as we're going up the hill. So I got on Facebook, I called that a social distancing ride, because you don't get that close to one another anyway when you're riding a bike with somebody, especially if somebody's in front, somebody's behind. And Justin let me go in front, that way he didn't pull too far ahead, because he's training for an Ironman that was going to be at the end of May this year, and they've moved that now. They're still going to have it. It's going to be at the end of May next year, and so he has plenty of time to build a base and all of that kind of stuff. This coronavirus stuff is really upending our lives in a lot of ways. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Dee. And Frecia. Frecia's not on there because I'm using her phone to record, because I want to show you in a little bit something on my phone. And hello, Lori. Good to see you guys. Very good to see you. It's upending our lives, this coronavirus stuff, even down to I have a tickle on my nose right now that I really want to itch bad, but you're not supposed to touch your face. So I saw a Facebook post today about that, how face, we had it good back then when we could scratch, a little bit here or there, when I could put my hand on my cheek or something like that. Face, we had it good before this coronavirus stuff. Yeah, it's upending life a little bit. My son Joshua is going to be getting married. He and Mariah Canfield are engaged. They're supposed to get married at the end of May. It really just is not going to happen the way that we want it to happen, the way that they've been planning it to happen. They've had things in mind for some. And I'm sorry, but I have to touch my face. I just can't. It's just too itchy. So the struggle is real. I'm going to have to get hand sanitizer later on. Hello, Cleve, and SpongeBob, and Crystal, and Betty Post. Good to see you guys tonight. So Josh and Mariah are going to get married. They're just not going to get married at the end of May, because we're just sitting around waiting for something that's not going to happen, because the social distancing isn't going to change, and the number of people isn't going to change. And so they're going to get married here in a couple weeks, 2 weeks from Friday, on It's going to be 2 weeks after Good Friday on April 24th, and they'll be able to at least get away for a weekend for a couple days. Don't know how all that's going to work, but in between their jobs and stuff like that, and it's just not ideal. But it is what it is, and desperate times call for desperate measures. I married a couple of people yesterday afternoon. They were only able to supply one witness, and then Deanne was here, and we had to do social distancing, and we couldn't shake hands, and we couldn't do all of those things that I normally want to do, and that was just weird. It's just surreal, some of these situations. Earlier today, Gail Portnier went in to the hospital to have a defibrillator installed. They were originally going to wait for a while, but it's something that, that he really needs in his heart. And no one could be with him in person. His son David took him up, dropped him off at the front door, and no one could go in with him. And it makes me sad that things have to be like that. Adam Leach's dad passed away. Maybe some of you know him, Willie Carroll. And it was just surreal being at the graveside there with family. And we couldn't have many family around at all. I think there were like 5 people with us. Everyone else was practicing social distancing. A lot of people had to just stay in their cars because there was too many people gathered together in one place. And it was, my heart went out to Adam and his family and to his mom as they're going through this, because the normal things that I would do to provide comfort and a little bit of healing involve touch. I use positive touch with people when I can, even in this day and age. Yes. Even when some people don't touch anybody. I still think that touch is important. Positive touch with people that I can, and appropriate for a particular time. It might be a handshake, a high five, a hug, a full-on hug if the situation warrants it. I like to kind of do the side hug, thing. Just a pat on the back, literally a pat on the back, or a hand on a shoulder or an arm, or holding hands with a group, with a family, to pray for them. And usually I ask permission. Is it okay if we hold hands? And it's always okay to hold hands. It's just so hard not to touch others. And it's hard not to touch your own face, which is kind of what I was dealing with. I have that itch here on my face, and I'm going to have to sanitize later. It's a good thing I just got out of the shower. Jesus used positive touch many times with people, and I looked up on my Blue Letter Bible app, and so I'm going to change the direction of my phone right here. This is Frisch's phone. Woo! There, hi, really up close and personal. I'm going to change the direction of the phone right here so that it can. Oh, look at that! Look at that! All right. So first things first. This is my home screen. And you see this app right in the middle, Blue Letter Bible, BLB. Look, it's a Bible, and it has a blue screen, and it has a little mouse-looking thing there. That's Blue Letter Bible. I strongly encourage you to get the Blue Letter Bible app. And now it's trying to take me to the weather. But if you have Blue Letter Bible app, you can open it. If not, go to your Play Store and get Blue Letter Bible app, because you can do on Blue Letter Bible the same things that I do for study. Now you see that it opened to Hebrews 12. That's last, verse 7, endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as his children. That's what we talked about a couple weeks ago. NIV is on this side, and the New Living Translation is on this side. So New International Version this side, NLT this side is what I have. And I'm going to go up here to the search and push it, and I'm going to type in touch. See what I did there? Touch. And I'm going to search the Bible. Which occurs in 40 verses in the NIV. Oh, hopefully you all haven't lost sound. Okay. Hopefully you're not losing sound. Touch occurs in 40 verses. Now you see the first one here is in Genesis. That's way back. I'm going to flip through this. There, get you all dizzy. And I'm going to go to the New Testament, and I'm going to look in Matthew. So that's Ezekiel, that's Old Testament. Matthew is New Testament. In Matthew 9:21, she said to herself, if I only touch his cloak, I will be healed. And that was a bleeding woman. She'd been bleeding for 12 years. She was in a crowd pressing in around her, in a crowd pressing in around Jesus, and he felt her touch him. And that's included in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. They all tell that story. So I'm going to click on Matthew. I'm going to go to Matthew 9:21 in the Blue Letter Bible app. I'm going to go to Matthew 9:21. And I'm going to, okay, that's Matthew 9. You see verse 21. I'm going to click on the verse. I'm going to click on interlinear. That means that they line up the Greek words on the right and the English words on the left. Can you see that? The English over here. And, it doesn't say Greek, but that's what it is. Now, you don't need to know what the Greek word is. It doesn't really matter, but you can scroll down. She was saying to herself, if I only touch, so see the word touch here. I got to go back and do that again. Click on the verse, interlinear, go down to the word touch, and it's a Greek word hapto. You can see Hapto, and it'll even tell you how to pronounce it right here if we want it to.
Strong's G 681 hapto.
But you know what? It doesn't really matter how to pronounce it. You just click there on the number, and it takes you to hapto. And every occurrence in the Bible, it's in the New Testament because it's Greek, every occurrence where the word touch appears, and you see Matthew 8, verse 3, is the first occurrence that hapto is included. Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. I am willing, he said, be clean. And immediately he was cleansed. Mercy. Okay, I'm going to turn this back around because I don't need to hold the phone there. Plus, my arm's getting a little bit tired, and I'm glad that you guys can hear me. Some of your comments are coming up. Some of them are not, so I think there are other people on here. Josh and Kaylee, good to see you. And Crystal, good to see you. And Connie Carpenter, yep, good to see all of you guys. And Crystal Newman. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of walk through these. That first one that I read, Matthew 8, verse 3, is Jesus touching a leper. Now, of course, Jesus is Jesus. I'm not Jesus. I'm not going to go up and touch a leper, but Jesus touched a leper. He didn't have to. It didn't make any good sense for a person to do that. He did it to make a point, because here's an outcast from society that Jesus reaches out and very literally, physically touches him. And no one had done that for years. And he cleansed this man of leprosy. Matthew 8, verse 15, Jesus touched the hand of Peter's mother-in-law. Peter had a mother-in-law, which means he must have been married. And he touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she got up and began to wait on him. She was feverish and ill, and Jesus touched her hand, and she was healed. And then in Matthew 9, it talks about the bleeding woman. She was subject to bleeding for 12 years. It's kind of a female problem. That's where she was bleeding, and she was unclean, and she was unable to worship, and she just thought, if I maybe touch the hem of his garment, I will be healed. And she was healed, and Jesus pointed her out and pointed out her faith. In Matthew 9, there were a couple of men who could not see, and he touched their eyes, and he healed them. In Matthew 14, sick people wanted to just touch the edge of his cloak and be healed. Matthew 17, Jesus went up on a mountain. He was transfigured before his disciples. He was gleaming in white. He appeared as he would appear in heaven and not as a human, and they were scared. But Jesus came and touched them. He said, "Get up. Don't be afraid." In Matthew 20, a couple of blind men again, Jesus had compassion on them and touched their eyes, and immediately they received their sight and followed him. Jesus touched the leper in Mark chapter 1. Jesus healed many so that those with diseases were pushing forward to touch him. Another one about the bleeding woman and his cloak. Wherever he went, people placed sick in the marketplace, and they begged him to let him touch even the edge of his cloak, and all who touched it were healed. There was a man who was deaf, and he was mute, and Jesus put his fingers into the man's ears, then he spit and touched the man's tongue. Wow, that's kind of interesting. They came to Bethsaida, and some people brought a blind man and begged Jesus to touch him. In Mark 10, people were bringing little children to Jesus for him to place his hands on them, but the disciples rebuked them. The disciples thought that Jesus was too good for little children. But Jesus wasn't. Jesus welcomed the little children. He said, don't hinder them. Let them come to me. And he placed his hands on them in a positive way. Jesus reached out and healed a leper. In Luke chapter 5, he touched a leper. Jesus went up and touched the funeral bier, which was like, it was something that they were carrying. They were carrying this young man out because he was dead. And Jesus stopped the funeral procession and he said, young man, I say to you, get up. And he touched the bier, or the thing that they were carrying him on. And that man, he came back to life. The Pharisees were upset because there was a woman touching Jesus. And she must not know what kind of woman she is, that she's a sinner. But Jesus welcomed that kind of touch. Jesus healed the bleeding woman in Luke chapter 8. That whole presence, that the word's used several times. Luke 18, people were bringing babies to Jesus for him to place his hands on them. When the disciples saw this, they rebuked him. they didn't really learn much, did they? Luke 22, Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane, and these Roman soldiers are coming and they arrest him, and Peter draws a sword to protect him, and he swipes off the ear of a young man named Malchus, and Jesus said, no more of this, and he touched the man's ear and healed him. So there are some cases from the beginning of Jesus' life until the very end, until they were arresting him. That was probably early Friday morning, maybe late Thursday night before he was crucified. And Jesus touched people. Touch was important to Jesus. Now, he didn't have to touch people to heal them, but he touched them anyway. There is power in touch. There are several times that Jesus healed people by long distance. Some people thought that touch was important. He had to touch them, but Jesus could heal them from miles and miles away. That wasn't an issue. So if touch wasn't an issue, why did he touch all of these people? Because he could. Because he could, and because there is power in positive physical touch. Right now, we, as the hands and feet of Jesus, we really can't touch people. Right? We can't touch them. Or can we? What are some ways we can touch people without using physical touch? Time to maybe get involved there a little bit with your thumbs and type a response that we can look at later. Ways that we can touch people without using physical touch. One of them is snail mail, a note or a card. That's something that Jim and Marcia Barr have always been great at, and they use specifics. Thank you for this exact thing. You could do a drive-by. I didn't mean to do a drive-by tonight. Yeah, Connie, you're right. Jesus is with Gail. He is not alone. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely 100%. You can do a drive-by someone's house. Just stay in the car. I stopped to talk to some people that were in a yard, and they were practicing social distancing, but it was Chuck's birthday, and some of you may know Chuck Shores, and if you do, maybe you can drive by their house. He lives at the corner of 13th and E Street here in Wymore. You can drive by and honk if you want. There were some people gathered, and they were practicing social distancing and things like that, and I just stopped to say hello. I've seen that you can send flowers to people. I've seen that used effectively as well. And what ideas do you have? Okay, Kaylee, Josh, Clint Hutchinson, hello. Mariah's watching. Mark Weir says fan mail, yay. Those are some ways that I just thought of here a little bit ago that we can touch people without using physical touch, doing some of the stuff in the windows like we've been doing here in Wymore, doing bears, doing Easter stuff, that sort of thing. We're hoping to have an impact through the egg hunt that we're doing, the giant egg hunt that's going to start Friday, anytime after 5 p.m. It's not a specific time. You just get your family in the vehicle anytime after 5 p.m. on Friday, and the scavenger hunt will be out all weekend. It's a giant hunt, and you're looking for giant eggs. And I left my giant egg over here, but I think I can grab it real quick. And the giant egg is here. It is. Yay! Or if we turn it around, ha! See, mess it up, but there you go. It's actually right in the camera, and that is our start egg. And our start egg is going to be on of the sign, our church sign on M Street. And you'll have some instructions there, but you'll go around and find 12 resurrection eggs that are hidden in and around Wymore and Blue Springs. And you'll have some clues, and at each one of those stops, there's a devotional moment. So that's just a way. I mean, we've had to get really creative about how do we really touch people and connect with people, and that's really the key phrase. Anything that can help you connect with other people. And I don't know if you saw Governor Ricketts' press conference today. He's doing press conferences every weekday at 2 p.m. and they have a new slogan. We have a coronavirus slogan now for Nebraska. Instead of Nebraska, it's not for everybody. This is a coronavirus slogan that we're supposed to stay home, stay healthy, stay connected. And that's pretty good. I don't mind that. Stay home, stay healthy, stay connected. It's important to be connecting with people. There are some suicides that are happening and that sort of thing across the land from the isolation that's happening. So stay home, stay healthy, stay connected with people, and go out of your way to connect with people. And again, that's not bad, but I like ours here at church better, and it's on the back of our t-shirts. Love, serve, and connect. Love, serve, and connect. Find a way for that to happen. Incidentally, if you purchased a t-shirt or ordered a t-shirt, we're not still open today, but tomorrow we'll be open again from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Come in and pick up your bag off of the table. We have them all bagged up so that there's just minimal touch. Open the doors into the Sunday Cafe room and the fellowship hall room where we have Sunday Cafe on Sunday mornings. Its cafe's been empty for a while. But go in there and you can find your t-shirts, and they're in a bag with your name on them. And thanks to Deanne for putting that together. Crystal Newman says they're using FaceTime. That's phone calls. Yeah, for sure. Hi, Jess Fader. Good to see you. Mark Weirs, yeah, group chats. Those are pretty good. We can do some other. We can do. I'm thinking Zoom calls and